Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something fascinating, the secret behind real influence. We're going to unpack this idea of becoming what's known as the architect of emotion.
Have you ever met someone who just has this magnetic pull? They walk into a room and people just seem to listen. They don't have to shout or demand respect. It's just given to them, almost like magic. So what's really going on there? What's their secret?
Well, here's the thing. They've tapped into a skill that most of us don't even know exists. They're looking past the surface, past what people say, and they're seeing what's really driving them. They are emotional architects. So what does that actually mean? An emotional architect. It's someone who can decode the hidden emotional currents that make people tick. They get that if you want to connect with someone, you don't argue with their logic. No, you have to go deeper into their unseen emotional world, their needs, their insecurities. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to walk through their 5-step blueprint. We'll start with the core philosophy, then we'll get into how to read the signs people give off, how to trace those signs back to their childhood roots, what to do with that knowledge, and finally we'll talk about the subtle art of soft power. All right, first up, the architect's blueprint. And let's be clear, this is not about being born with some magical charisma. This is a skill. It's about understanding the hidden rules of the game, the things that really govern how we all interact with each other. And here it is, the single most important idea in this whole thing. Every single person has what's called a thumbscrew. Now think of it as a hidden insecurity, a wound from their past, maybe an unmet need from childhood. And this one thing, whether they know it or not, quietly dictates almost everything they do as an adult. Okay, so if everyone has one, how in the world do you find it? Well, that brings us right to our second part, decoding the unspoken signs. And the first step is to just accept a simple truth. People are not nearly as logical as we'd like to think we are. Our emotions, our pasts, they're almost always in the driver's seat. Freud absolutely nailed this. He said people are always talking, even when they're not saying a word. You just have to know where to look. Their words might say one thing, but their little actions, their unconscious habits, man, that's where they tell the real story. So this means you have to become a great observer. Watch the small things. How do they treat a waiter or a barista? How do they react when you compliment them? Do they get awkward or do they just soak it up? What's that one topic they can't stop talking about? These aren't just random quirks, you guys. They are little breadcrumbs leading you straight to their deepest insecurities. Now, once you start picking up on these clues, you can move to the next step, our third section, finding the helpless child. This is all about tracing those adult behaviors back to where they really started. And this is the key idea right here. So much of our adult behavior is just an echo of a childhood need that was never really met. If someone was starved for attention as a kid, you better believe they're going to spend their whole life trying to get it. If they felt smothered, they might always be chasing freedom and excitement. It's an echo. Now, a huge tell, a real pro tip, is to look for contradictions. People almost always project the exact opposite of how they feel inside. It's a defense mechanism. So that guy who's super aggressive and loud, chances are he's masking some pretty deep insecurity. The quiet, timid person, they might be secretly craving adventure. And the one who's always boasting, yep, they're desperate for validation. You have to look past the mask. Okay, this is where it gets really practical. Let's move into section 4, how to fill the void. Because once you've identified that emotional gap, you can actually start to become the architect of their emotions by subtly giving them what they've been missing all along. And it really just boils down to this simple 3-step process. First, you observe their behaviors to find that old childhood wound. Second, you figure out the emotional void that wound created. And third, you subtly, and the key word is subtly, supply what's missing. We're not talking about grand, obvious gestures. It's about giving them that specific emotional nutrient they've been starving for. And here's why this is so incredibly powerful. When you manage to tap into and fill a need that deep, a person's defenses just melt away. They stop interacting with you logically and start reacting from a purely emotional place. Suddenly, they associate you with this incredible feeling of validation or completeness, and your presence becomes almost essential to them. So let's zoom out for our final section and look at the bigger picture, the power of soft power. This is the long game. It's what you do when your target seems completely out of reach.
So what if the person you want to influence is like a fortress? They seem totally self-sufficient, totally bulletproof. Well, the key is to remember that nobody is an island. Everyone has a weak link. So instead of going at them directly, you find the people they trust, their advisor, their spouse, their best friend, and you win them over first. And that right there, that is the very essence of soft power. It's influence that works through attraction, through connection. It is not about force or making demands. It's all about pulling people towards you, not pushing them away. So when you boil it all down, the entire strategy can be summed up with this one idea: become completely other-centered. It means you have to stop focusing on what you want to say, what you want to get. Instead, you put all your energy into figuring out what that other person is emotionally missing. When you can provide that, you become almost irresistible. At the end of the day, everything we've talked about here is just a tool. It's a lens for understanding what truly drives human beings. And like any powerful tool, it can be used to build incredible connections and inspire people, or it can be used to manipulate. And so that leaves us with one final very important question: how will you use it?